West Ham head to Swansea on Saturday for what could be a pivotal match in the battle for Premier League survival. Although there has been a red warning submitted from the Met Office today in Wales, and it could be a red warning for the game. The game could be abandoned. We don't know. We have to keep our eye on it. So for all you fans travelling, just keep your eye on the fixtures to see if the game is going to go ahead. Also, if it does go ahead, please make sure you are safe. West Ham's defeat to Liverpool 4-1 only makes us 3 points clear from relegation. The up and down bipolar West Ham season, with 10 games left and just 6 points separating Watford, who are in 10th, and Swansea, that are 18th. That's just crazy, absolutely crazy. Swans have been playing well. They've had a really good recovery recently, although they did get smashed last week from Brighton 4-1. So up steps West Ham. And yes, I'm joined by Luke. Welcome back to Iron United's YouTube channel. We are live. Get commenting below. I love doing this. Look, this is something that YouTube people do all the time, and they're pointing down below.
Yeah, you're becoming a typical YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm not into that crap. But I keep looking up there because it's snowing, so that's why I'm kind of taking away, slightly digressing. Anyway,
it's snowing. That's in your old kid again.
Anyway, look, how are you doing? And also, what are your thoughts on Swansea?
Well, I'm very cold. It ain't great, is it? No, it's yeah. Hopefully the weather gets a bit better and the game does go ahead. Swansea have impressed me actually since the new manager took over, because I kind of saw it as being a bit like what's kind of Stoke have done, where they've hired a not very well renowned manager in maybe the preparation for going down and getting a manager who knows the bottom league. The underleague, in intent to get back up again. But Carvajal, that's his name. He's worked a few magic tricks. They're starting to look a lot better. They're in good form. They're playing good football, as we know Swansea like to do. They're getting their results in. They've now done that genius thing where they take a West Ham player and it's probably going to shine like anything for them, especially alongside his brother. But yeah, it's typical, because you just said it then. Upsets West Ham and boom, right on time.
Right on time, and we have just come off a terrible loss against Liverpool, but equally so have Swansea. And there is going to be a familiar face if this game does go ahead. A familiar face in the Mr. Andre Ayew. What are your thoughts on Mr. Ayew? What are your thoughts on Ayew when he played at West Ham? What are your thoughts on when we signed him and when we sold him? Go for it, Luke.
Well, when we signed him, I think like every other fan, he was a bit like, all right, he's a good player, but why the hell have we spent 20 million on him? And it felt like a bit of a panic buy, because we were meant to get in this marquee signing. It didn't happen. I liked Ayew at Swansea. I thought he was a really good player, and I was actually quite, grateful to have him, and 20 million in today's market isn't a huge amount, especially for a Premier League footballer. And he didn't hit the mark. He got injured in his first game for us. It never really kicked off. The really weird thing about him for West Ham, though, is he seemed to have these amazing stats, like he'd scored so many more goals than any of our players, or he'd been involved in so many more goals. And for a player that was more or less used as a sub, kind of most of the time, actually, especially towards the end of his time at the club, it was kind of like an impact sub, really. I liked his work rate. He never seemed to shirk out of anything. He was a bit of a trier, but like a lot of West Ham fans say, you can try as hard as you like. We'd try if we got the opportunity to play for West Ham, but if you ain't good enough, you ain't good enough. I think it's a bit weird that in a way, typical West Ham shoot themselves in the foot. They've sold him to a rival. And it happens to be on deadline day, where they clearly just want to get money for him and get him out the door. But then who do we replace him with? We replaced him with a guy from Preston North End for half the amount they've sold him for.
Come on, you way in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there with that. Which is, fair play to Hugo, and hopefully he has a good career at West Ham for however long it lasts. But typical, sell out to a rival and then bring in some Championship nobody.
Was Ayew in your eyes a panic buy for West Ham?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the marquee signing that they said when they signed him, you wanted a £20 million striker. There you go.
It was, yeah, exactly. But we didn't want a £20 million striker because that's not a marquee signing level.
Yeah.
A marquee signing is between 30 to 50 million minimum, I'd say.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to go places. No, I know Tottenham are buying players for left, right, and centre for a decent amount and getting a lot out of them, but we're not Tottenham and we aren't doing things like they're doing. But yeah, I liked him when we signed him, but overall, I think every fan could tell it was a panic buy. I wasn't the only one.
Yeah, of course. Now, we have come off of the terrible loss, I suppose you could say, against Liverpool. I was at the game, and it wasn't the greatest. If you want to give us a quick rundown and maybe quick overview of the Liverpool game and what your thoughts were,
Yeah,
and maybe why you can see us potentially changing something moving into this Swansea game.
okay, there's a lot of preparation
Yeah,
there,
go
mate.
for it. Over to you.
Throw you under the bus there, son. You know I like talking, didn't you?
Really?
Yeah, I expected the loss. I expected the result because Liverpool have just been, in attack. They're ridiculous. And with their pace, we've got one of the oldest and slowest back lines in the whole league. So I was expecting the kind of, the pace to creep up on this. Watching the game, it was I didn't think we really went through. Didn't expect to get anything out of it. I think you could tell that in the way we were playing as well. Unlucky for Arnautovic because if he doesn't hit the bar, great save by Karius, but if he doesn't hit the bar and he scores from that, in my opinion, it's a different game. But just their luck, he didn't go in. And then shortly after, Liverpool go and get the first goal, and I think a head's just dropped. And but I will say though, it's a great finish from Antonio.
Fantastic.
And I was kind of just over the moon to get a goal. To be honest with you, I know it might sound pathetic, but it was good to see him in form. Good to see him get a goal. It was a good finish as well. And actually, I'd had a few pints by then. I've been thinking of, when to watch that wasn't nice going. I did kind of just jump up and give it a few. And a few Liverpool fans give me a weird look, like you haven't, you're not in the game anymore. You're out of it. But in my opinion, it was one of them games you just kind of, although it's kind of like a bit of defeat, get out of the way because I couldn't see us really giving it much of a go in the first place. So, look, lost, scored a goal, on to Swansea for me.
Yeah, I get it. I went to the game with obviously 3,000 fans, and when we scored the goal, I took my nephew along. It's been his third game this year, so it's really good taking him along. And we literally had him above our heads. Going nuts, and that's just what it's all about as a West Ham fan. Having a party, etc. And he loved it, and he wants to keep coming back. And do you know what? He's seen 3 West Ham games, never seen us win, but still wants to come back and see us play. So that's what the West Ham's all about. You try once and you can't turn back. So I think the key for me was though, once we knew we were getting smashed, in our heads we started thinking of Swansea, and in my head I started thinking, I am annoyed about Hernandez being dropped. I can't help myself for being annoyed over that. But what is good, what if I had to take positive from it, Lanzini got a run out. Reid was back on the bench, and I'm just starting to think like it gives Lanzini a game, minutes with Arnautovic, it gives him minutes with Mario. Frustrating that Hernandez wasn't there for them to do that whole kind of partnership up that I potentially think they were. But the one player that I suppose that did stick out for a negative, even more so probably than anyone, is the player that maybe we haven't had a negative from this year, and that's Adrian. I mean, I remember watching the game, like obviously was there, and anyone who watched the game probably would have seen it, but he looked really scatty on Saturday, and he kind of shown some of the bad form, the not great form he had just when Randolph came into the team a couple of seasons ago. Now, I know I'm only talking about one game, I'm not getting carried away, I certainly don't think he should be dropped, but I tell you what, Joe Hart will be in the wings and he'll be putting pressure on Moyes. He will be. What were your thoughts on Adrian's performance?
Yeah, it was kind of the worst of Adrian, but he made a good save in the first sort of early on against Salah, but that was kind of the highlight of not much that was there to really go off. It wasn't great from Adrian. He does have it in him to be a bit of a calamity, make a few mistakes here and there. He's not a world-class keeper, he's just a very good keeper. In my opinion, I still think he's a very good keeper. You're allowed one bad game though, and I think it's just with our defence, it was always going to come under pressure, especially from the form of their forwards.
Yeah.
And I was just expecting it. I wasn't expecting him to make any amazing saves like he did against Man City, which is one of the reasons why he's still he pinpointed that he was good enough to be number one again. But it's Joe Hart can knock on a door as much as he likes.
Just won't get in.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind.
Just don't answer the door.
Unless genuinely, yeah, exactly. That's probably what's happening. They just put a lock on the door. Generally, unless let's say Adrian makes a massive mistake, unless he does something which you just go, what the hell is going on? I can't see Joe Hart getting back in because no matter how bad Adrian is, I think the confidence surrounding Hart means that he won't get there. And the only reason why you'd give Hart a go is because you're thinking of the World Cup. And with Butland, if he starts having good games, and if who's the Everton keeper?
Pickford.
Remind me. That's it. If they start both, up in their game and getting form, it might put pressure on him. But if I'm honest, I think Adrian's allowed a bad game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't against a poor outfit. If he starts to maybe do the same thing against Swansea, then you start thinking. But in my opinion, just move on, keep him in, and go from there. Really.
Well, we are playing Swansea if the game does go ahead. Players like Rangel, Sanchez, Wilfred Boney, Leroy Fer are all out for Swansea. Player that we were chasing for a while was Sanchez, and if we look at the return fixture earlier in the season that we were at, it wasn't the greatest of victories for West Ham, and Sanchez did run the midfield of Swansea that day, so I think that's a big miss for them. But at the end of the day, they do have the Ayew brothers. What is Swansea's biggest threat in your opinion? Is it, and does it fall upon our ex-player?
Always West Ham. No matter how good you play, no matter how poor the other team is, a former player of ours has always got the capability of coming back to hauntless. I don't really see one particular player from Swansea doing much damage. All you hear about, I'm not a Swansea fan, so I don't follow them here and now, but all you do hear about from what I read online on social media and whatever is that Sanchez hasn't really done much since he's been at Swansea. Maybe a few good games here and there.
A few good games, and one of them was against us.
Yeah, even then I didn't think he was all that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, didn't get very far towards scoring against us. Abraham, if he plays, he's a bit of a danger. He's got a goal in them or two. But I think it's more about us than about them, personally. I think if we turn up and play the way we can, we've got the players to turn them over. And Arnautovic on his day, we'd have a field day against them. I must admit, actually, Fabianski's one of them players that can have a good game. And he's got it in him to make a few world-class saves and keep him in the game. But it would be typical of our luck if the Ayew brothers suddenly clicked, like Lanzini and Arnautovic to do. And if they got their act together and started piling pressure on us to score a few goals, it'd be typical. But I don't really pinpoint a major player. I think if they turn up, the whole team could damage us, as any team can.
Yeah, and I think the biggest worrying thing here is something I mentioned at the beginning, which is we're only 3 points from safety. And if results don't go well and we do get beat at the weekend, we could be finding ourselves just above the relegation zone, equal on points with the bottom 3, and that's just not. With 9 games to go, it's just, sometimes you feel like you open up a gap sometimes, but we're only 5 points ahead. We've not been losing a lot of games under Moyes, but we're not winning a lot of games under Moyes either. Mm-hmm. It's now at the results end of the season, and this is where we need to get the results, and this is where we need all our players to come in and focus and be on form. And a player, we talk about a lot of players coming in and they've got experience, but a player I want to talk about is Patrice Evra. Because for me personally, I thought he had a very decent game against Liverpool, even though we got smashed 4-1. And it looks like he's going to be fit. He's got a big gash on his shin.
Yeah, but, nasty, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it looks like he's still going to be fit for the game. Do you keep him in the side?
Yeah. Unless there's a major change in defence, like it is an injury or what have you, he's got to really. I think when you've got a player like him, and if you've got him in a short contract and you want him to have a certain impact, you want him to play as much as possible if he's going to keep the form going.
Yeah.
Basically, I know they conceded 4 goals, but would you really want to change the defence that much and just chuck Reed in the deep end after being out injured so long? He's not. I'm a big fan of Reed, but he's not the most dependable a lot of the time. Which is
this is where I would disagree with you.
No. But what I mean is what I'm getting at is the fact that if other players are around, if he's, which is what we've said a lot of times about him and Ogbonna, is the fact that he's carried Ogbonna a number of times. this season, maybe even last season as well. But it's bottom line is ever plays again. To be honest with you, Liverpool goes a bit right off for me.
Well, Matt, the biggest thing I worry about, I suppose, is listen. We all know Ginge can offer us his services when we need him at most. My biggest concern is his age and his legs, and he has played now consecutively for 3 or 4 games for the side, and I think that's just enough for him just now. And if we have got Winston Reid back, he is the main man in the back of the defence. He may be not the main man this season because Ogbonna, again, hold my hands up, has played really well whilst he's been gone. Potentially no, well, do you know what? It's not that. It's the fact that when it comes to Hammer of the Year, and we're fighting for relegation, it kind of defeats the purpose slightly. I get why we do it, but I can't help but feel slightly like, why would I want to vote for Hammer of the Year if we're not even looking like we're fighting? I don't know. It's quite tough. But anyway, the fact that Winston Reid is back, for me personally, I would drop Ginge because I would give him the rest, and I think this is a perfect game. I mean, I'm not dropping Ginge and thinking we're going to concede or lose goals because we're putting Winston Reid in. We're putting the better defender in position, and that's the partnership that Moyes and West Ham want, which is Reid and Ogbonna, with potentially Collins coming off the bench or covering whenever there's an injury. So for me personally, I would put Reid in there, and drop Ginge and put him in alongside Ogbonna. Keep Evra. It looks, I suppose. Do you know what? Liverpool had the counter attack, and when you're coming up against those 3 players up top, eventually they're going to find those pockets that West Ham don't cover, and eventually they started to ransack Zabaleta and Evra. The one thing I will say about the Liverpool game was Evra kept up with the pace, which is fair play. Zabaleta has got pace going forward, but got caught out a lot of times from that Robertson boy, the left winger from Liverpool. And they did find those pockets of space in behind those wing backs. Where I don't know if Swansea, I'm not doing them a disservice. They don't have that quality of player like Liverpool do, neither do we. So I think this is where we kind of see these players, like perfect game for Winston Reid to come back into the side and rest Ginger's legs before he gets another injury, because that's just typical West Ham who play against this another injury.
The only thing that goes in Collins' favour in regards to pure passion, if you like, is as a Cardiff boy, so they want to beat a fellow Welsh rival, which he always does. And I think the thing about Collins is that I think that whenever you kind of think to yourself, well, he's played a few games now, maybe he needs a rest, he always seems to pull a performance out of the bag. And as me as ever, I always feel that we rush these players back too much. I'm always sceptical about how they're normally going to last. I.e. Lanzini and Antonio, I expected them both to go down holding an injury against Liverpool, but they made it through all right. So, in my opinion, personally, you keep Collins in, but I totally see what you're getting at with Reid replacing him.
And then you mentioned the player there, Antonio. I mean, he's back now, and you got to give him his due. He was in the right place at the right time, and a lot of people say he's kind of a lot of beef. Do you know what? I don't see a problem with the way he looks. I don't see a problem with the way he ran. He beat the defence. He had the ball. He's not the technically most gifted player in the Premier League whatsoever, nor was he on that day in the park. But he was delivered the ball. He ran onto the ball. He held it and he took a shot against a £75 million defender who couldn't catch up with Mikel Antonio. So he's not doing things that bad.
No.
And for me, I suppose it presents Moyes with a difficult decision, because in theory, whatever he does within the midfield will have an effect on up front. Do you bring Chicharito back for this game, Luke?
I've been thinking about it for a good couple of days now, and in my opinion, no. I know, and it is a hard decision for me because I like Hernandez. I can't call him Chicharito. I can't call him Chicharito. I don't know why. And Hernandez isn't the greatest at holding the ball up, but who does that? That's Arnautovic. That's what he's turned into. That's been his job up front. He's the main man up front. He's the target man, what have you. Hernandez is the best at just picking up scraps. And if Arnautovic even gets 2 chances to pocket a few balls for him, then he'll take that away all day long. I think we looked a bit threadbare up front against Liverpool, but I expect him to be anyway. But if you're talking about a game where you need goals, where you're against a team, a rival, where let's face it, the previous game against Watford, Hernandez scored, and is in a good run of form himself. But I think that it's a bit like, okay, we lost 4-1 against Liverpool. We lost 4-1. I get that. Yeah, we lost. But I think that I'm stalling now. I had to put it into words. But basically, you keep a losing team, as stupid as that might sound.
Yeah.
But in the case of it's two completely different teams, totally different opposite ends of the table, and it'd be a fantastic impact sub to make.
On that, I just think Chicharito, Hernandez, whatever you want to call him.
It's me, but no, you call it what you want. It's only me being stubborn.
He has been on form. He's hit a bit of form, and for me, it's just a no-brainer. This guy's on form with this ability. He's got some decent goals now for our side, and we drop him for the Liverpool game, which drops his momentum, and that's the fucking part that really frustrates me with West Ham. We build up momentum and then we do something just really stupid. And what would have been the downside to giving Chicharito a run out against Liverpool? What would have been the negative side of that? For
lack
me,
of pace, I think.
But look what happened.
We jumped in there.
Yeah, lack of pace. But there was what I noticed against Liverpool was there was never anyone in the box for any of the players to put the ball into. Arnautovic, he played fantastic for what he had to do, but when he had the ball, he looked up and no one was there to put the ball in front of him. And that's what's always, tell you what, any midfielder on this earth, if they know that a striker is going to be in that box without even having to look, all they're thinking about is forward pass, ping into the box, because he's going to get on the end of it. And I do not buy this whole resting malarkey because we're in a fight and we're whatever. I just think it was a terrible management decision from Moyes to drop Chicharito when he's in form after the season it's been. He was proven wrong to drop him. Not saying if he'd have started we would have won the game, not saying that, but we'd have had probably a better chance. And these guys, these guys are going to think all the time, let's put the ball in that box. Liverpool have conceded a lot of goals this season for the team that's in the top six. And that's a perfect game. Do you know what? Scoring a goal against Liverpool at Anfield when the crowd are on your back, because they're going to be on his back because he's ex-Man United, all that kind of stuff. And when it comes to the game against Swansea, for me it's a no-brainer. I want to see Chicharito, I want to see Arnautovic, I want to see Lanzini. And I wasn't massively impressed with Mario at Liverpool, but I still want to give him his chance and see him. And I want to see that quartet. I want to see those four players put in that side and given a chance for us to actually see, can these players play together? Can Mario see what I think I can see when I look at Chicharito? Can you give the freedom to Arnautovic and to Lanzini to do what they need to do, allowing Noble and Kouati to do what they need to do? And potentially if Antonio was there, now I'm probably got a side that's worth, 13 players playing against 11 against Swansea. But it's just, for me personally, dropping Hernandez was a bad mistake because we've lost momentum. And I hope we haven't lost momentum, because when he comes in, I'm hoping he's going to bang in a goal or two against Swansea, and he can pick up from where he's lost from the last game, which is really frustrating. I've spoke a lot there. What are your thoughts on what I've said, Luke?
For once, I'm not the one doing it, apparently. So what was the question again? Sorry, just died out there a little
Just
bit.
What are your thoughts on the quartet I've mentioned?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's kind of like, if only we could have had this if we were in a more comfortable position in the league, because now we've dropped a few points and now we're back in kind of the mire again. It does kind of lead that thing where it would be almost like a luxury to just allow those players to go out and be on the pitch and attack together and do what they do, because if it ends up costing us a goal because we can't manage them all in the same team at the same time, it goes against us. And you can outscore the opposition, of course you can, but at the same time you don't want to concede goals either. And a relegation battle is a lot of the time about conceding less goals and maybe nicking your goal here and there just to get points in. I'd love to see it, like any fan. We'd love to see West Ham just pulverising the opposition with pace, with power, precision, attack. The level of ability in those players you've mentioned is just, for West Ham in the position that we're in, it's ridiculous to have that at our disposal. And hopefully we do get a result and we become a bit more comfortable. And for the next few games, we were allowed to see a bit more relaxed approach from the players, so they can go out and play the football that we'd love to see them play. I'd love it. I just don't think we're going to see it because it's too risky. Bottom line for me, but from management point of view, anyway.
Before we carry on the game, there is some news coming through, thanks to one of our guys at Irish United that's informed us that the march on March the 10th has now been cancelled. Officially has been cancelled by the Real West Ham Fans Action Group. Don't know. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you know about that. I'm gonna park it, and we're not going to talk about it because it's an opinion that can it's a controversial topic that can divide opinion, and I'm not willing to have that on this channel just yet until we have a kind of full understanding of everything that's going on, etc. So we'll just let you know the march has been cancelled on March the 10th. If you want to check it out, just have a look on social media. You'll see every site and their uncles and aunties posting it about why they should and why they should not.
You know what they're going to do now? Don't you? They're going to leave this. They're going to leave this video and go on social media. They're going to lose loads of viewers now.
Oh God, I don't even thought of that. No, the march is still on. The march is still. No, it's not. It's been cancelled. Anyway,
fair enough.
So yeah, do you know what? We rambled on a little bit, so let's close this chat off. There's a few decisions to be made. Well, I know. Well, we've got some people on here. If Chicharito can't score against the bottom three club, when is he ever going to play? I don't know, Vernon. I still think we need to give him a chance. He's been scoring goals for us, so I can't really. I've spent the past 5 minutes telling you why we should play him. So, Schizo Base. Hopefully, I've pronounced your name right again. I know you come on quite a lot. I don't think we get the best from Chicha by bringing him on. Must really dent his vibe. Agree about Chicha in the box, Anton. Cheers, mate. I do as well. Revelator Alf Gasparo. He does a show on our channel called Rhubarb Grumble. Cheers, Alf. It's quality. Really like it. A lot of good feedback. Moyes made a big mistake with Chicha in the last game. I agree with you.
No one agrees with me.
Matt, I would have rested Chicha. I don't think we would get anything from the game. I think playing him against Liverpool could have hampered his form rather than helped it. Matt, listen, I disagree with you completely. I completely disagree with you, but you know what? We're big men, we can handle it. So, Vernon, I'm saying he should play. Alright, sorry, I must have misunderstood you there. Revelator Alf says, I'm not a big Antonio fan, but he's got to start in his eyes for sure. I'd definitely start Hernandez too with Arnautovic on the right side of midfield, play high up and go for the win. So that's a good shout as well, to be fair. But at the end of the day, look, it comes to the end of our preview. We've talked, we've slightly digressed, we've come back on topic. West Ham, Swansea. We've discussed kind of pretty much where we're going to be. Adrian will probably start. Ever will probably start. I hope Chicharito will start. Over to you though for your predictions.
If it goes ahead, which obviously I'm hoping it does, good luck to those making the trip, by the way. Save Jenny there and back. You had a good time. I think, like I've said before, you keep kind of the same team, but obviously go for the win more, go for the jugular, because it is Swansea and not Liverpool. No disrespect to Swansea at all, but you are in the same situation as we are, and we've got to try and get it safe. I'd like to see Antonio maybe not start, but have a big part, maybe come on the second half or earlier on. Go for more attacking. I don't want to see us park the bus too much because we need to beat Swansea, in my opinion, so we need to go for it. Going to go straight ahead, just give you a scoreline. I think I'm going to go for a big one here. I'm going to go for 3-2 West Ham. Because we've scored goals there previously over the last couple of seasons. I think we've got a few conceded goals in us. So Ayew is 99.9% assured to score against us. And I mean Andre, not Jordan. For those putting the bets on due to my prediction, not that you ever would. But anyway, I think Arnautovic will get maybe a couple. And then just to shut my face, and maybe Hernandez will chip in with one if he comes in as a sub in the last minute to score the winner. new hero, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
Boom, up the table, no worries, no dramas.
3-2 from you, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win West Ham, as long as Mr. Hernandez is starting. Yeah, you're right. Schizo-base is off. He's going to go and find out more about the match. So do you know what? At the same time, we're going to go. Luke has predicted 3-2. I've predicted 2-1. Both wins for West Ham. Please subscribe to our channel. Do that whole malarkey. Just get ready subscribing to our channel. Subscribe,
Please.
Yeah. We offer multiple opinions. Multiple people come on the show. No opinion is wrong, no opinion is right. Just come on, have your say, get in contact if you want involved. You have all our details below. Thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. And yeah, that's been Luke. I've been Anton. We are United. Come on, Giants.